Tactic. Oh. Hello, everybody. Let's do this. So yesterday, off camera, I was able to get this working. So let's just demonstrate that first. I think we got it all set up still. I hope. I'm going to hit start. Oh, there's been a few other changes too. So let's see if anyone notices this, but notice the camera doesn't instantaneously move. Now using Cinemachine to follow the player. Makes this nice dead zone in the middle of the screen. Let's check this out. Click on that, and then you can see this. So there's anything in this white space or non-colored area will be an area where it will allow the player to move without moving the camera. Then once it gets into this like bluish greenish space, that's where it's going to try and slowly catch up to the camera, and then it will prevent the player from ever getting out into the red area. This also means that this particular Cinemachine setup, I can draw a bounding box or a collider around the world and tell it, don't ever go inside this area. Or outside this area, sorry. So what that means for us is, let's get off that Cinemachine camera. What that means for us is, in the overworld part of the town, I can no longer go outside of the bounding box or outside of the area and see the black, right? It's prevented, which is what I've been intending to do all along. So I added that to it. You can see this here. Let's go ahead and zoom in so we can see it a little better. We are now in front of this tree. If I come over here and go down, and then we can be in front of the tree. So we can go on both sides of this tree properly. Both halves of the tree are rendering correctly compared to us. Our character is also rendering correctly. This was accomplished by over here on our player and also on the tree itself. We have a script called where is it? Right, it's not on this. It's on the components that have renders. So let's go down into the body. This one should have it. So set order in layer, and it's got two parameters on that. The first parameter drives whether or not this is dynamic. So should it happen on every update frame, or is it static? Right. So if you don't check it, it'd be static, and that means it's going to calculate it at startup and then never change it again. So think the tree, for example. If we double click on this and get this loading. We also got this top parent. What that does is it allows us to set the Y value not on the individual nested child game object, but the parent game object and its transform, so that his head, which is a block higher almost, isn't considered at a different Y position than his feet. They're all consistent in that Y positioning. Same with the tree. The tree is actually two. Let's go down here to the grid and down to tile map game objects. The tree is actually two components, and each one of them have this set Y order and layer set to static, not dynamic. And something on my screen right where that Y is. Looked like I had a funny character there. And they're also going and looking at the, in this case, the grid. What? That's not right. That's not right. It should be looking at the dead tree M position for the Y. Huh. Anyway, so now that the Visual Studio Editor is up, in here, set sort order by sort order in layer by Y. Basically, we've got our constants, which I think I did show on the one stream, and an offset. The dynamic option, and then top parent. So what we're doing, we're saying if it's not dynamic, so it's static, not going to change, and the top parent is null, then we're going to set the transform to, or the top parent to be this transform, because top parent is what we're doing the calculations on based on in the Y value. Or we're going to set top parent to be the transform.parent of this object. And then we're going to continue to do that, right? So we're going to look at the parent object of the top parent, and we're just basically climbing up the hierarchy all the way. That way we can define something like the player, where he's 50 different sprites, and those sprites collectively make him up, but he's got one root object in the game, and that's the one that we actually want to check the Y on. And then the rest of it, you know, we've got some debug stuff here that we can throw in there, and then we're just setting the sort order. It's really all this calculation that's doing everything, right? The dynamic piece is checked in update, and sets the sorting layer if it's true. That's all there is to it. It's pretty straightforward. Benefits doing it this way, you know, I can put another tree down here and we can walk between them. I will show between them. I have all that working. The only thing that's got me a little baffled there is why that tree is showing up like it did there. Let's go to scenes, desert. And I've got to still fix that shadow over there on my green screen. Oh, desert, there is. Entry points. Oh, the other piece I had to do is I had to move all of these tile locations up to be positive because they were negative space before. So that was a pain, but it worked when I did it. So here we are. And we have dead tree M set. So let's take a look at that code again. So we're saying if we're dynamic, if we're not dynamic, which these are not, and the top parent is null. This bracket needs to be down here. Nope. This needs to be else. That's what's wrong. Right? Because if it's static, we want to figure it out based on itself or whatever it might have already been set to if I overwrite it, right? Then we do these update sorting layer. Otherwise, it's dynamic, and we want to transform. We want to navigate the whole hierarchy. So, good thing I reviewed that. Wouldn't have actually impacted anything because we would have changed the top parent, but never called update sorting layer again if it was not dynamic, because it doesn't actually call that. That's why that's why it worked, right? We just changed it after we called it once. So part of this was setting up brush prefabs, prefab brushes, right? So in order to paint these trees now, what I do is I come down here and select the dead tree M and get my brush out, and hopefully it doesn't freak out on me because it does occasionally. And I hit paint, and there's the second one, right? And it's freaking out again. I don't get why it freaks out. There. You have to like click off the object and come back sometimes because it's doing something funny. But there we've got 3 of them right in a row. Let's see if we can't grab that one and just delete that specific one. There we go. Let's play the game again and just walk between them just as an example to make sure it's working here. Now that I've changed the code a little bit. I think I also fixed that bug where he's initially facing down, and if you push up, he doesn't go up. And that was because his state code was defaulted to up instead of down. Okay. It's looking promising. Let's zoom in, make sure we're good. Yeah, so he's in front of that back tree and behind the bottom one. Hello below the stone! It's almost like magic. Not quite. Science! Okay. So what do we do next is I'm going to go to the overworld. And let's get our entry point. Oh, the actual entry point. There we go. And I need to start removing these non-game object versions of these fences and replacing them with my prefab brush version of the fence. This is one thing I do not like about the prefabs is that, or prefab brushes, is that they're all individual on different layers here and don't show up on your palette at all whatsoever to be able to paint with. It was a bad joke. That's what it was. There was an old thing. I don't know if it was like Bill Nye the Science Guy or something, but they're like, for science! A bad joke. Okay, collisions, eraser, ratio, new, because we know what you need to be. Okay, hopefully that all erased. Oh, that stupid recalculation of the composite collider is so slow. Are those not on the collision layer for real? Could I have just walked through them? And on top deco. And deco? They're not even the collision item. This wouldn't have worked right anyway. That's hilarious. What a waste of time. They're inventing things that allow us to communicate across the country and stream pictures of me so you can look at my ugliness while I'm developing a game that blah blah blah. How dare they? Or self. Okay. Can I keep painting you? No. I had to click on that every time. You never need science in your life. Oh, that's painful. gosh. Can I do... Please let me be able to do. Yes! Okay, it's not so bad then. And then I need to change the brush out from the north-south one to which one? The east-west brush. I named them on purpose so I would be able to find them. Whoop. There we go. And then these are in the collision layer. So let's go back here. Put the default brush again. Collisions. And do your eraser for the collisions. Collisions there. That must be the deco layer one. Nope. Collision. So you guys usually work on your game every night? Cool. Andrew, did you make it here for me to, in time for me to explain the sorting order layer thing I did? Ah, dang it. Which one is it? It's east-west. Okay. I did it almost right away as soon as I started streaming. That's understandable. I can show you once I get off of doing this. Come on. Oh. No, I don't. Help! There we go. Oh, these are so glitchy, the way they work. What? Fine, go to the regular brush then. There, jeez. So that needs to be a different one. We need to delete it too. So let's go here, back to default. And then this is probably deco, erase, or collision. There we go. And then we need to change our brush back to the west brush for fences. There we go. Then we do the north-south brush again. Why is that still there? Default brush. Eraser. Okay. Now we do north-south brush. Let's do it in this mode. Click on this. Call it U. W. U. W. U. Okay, then I need the east-west brush. Just undo that and then let's try to there. If that already has a collider on it, we might be able to get away with just making a decoration there. Be done. We gotta do these two corners, which would be south and east brush. There we go. Then we need one that's north and west. Did I not create one for northwest? I didn't create one for it. So we'll have to do that. Let's get the one over here. I think that's probably just another north. Yeah, it's just a north brush and we don't have that either. Okay. Okay, so let's take a look at this, Andrew, so that you can see what I did. So I've got this sort order and layer brush, or game object, and it's got two variables set up on it. A dynamic, which on these it's not dynamic, so it's static, right? So it doesn't gonna move. And then the top parent, which these ones are single objects, so there's no top parent involved in these. Then if we look over at our pairing us to the player, right? This player, we've got not on this layer because it needs to have the sprite render on the same object, so I've got to navigate down through to the just one of them for an example, and the top parent's not set and the dynamic is checked. So in the code for this, then what I've done is really what we're trying to accomplish is setting the sorting order, right, for the sprite renderer. And we're doing that by taking a max value so that, you know, this is like the highest Y value, and then we're subtracting off of that the Y value times a multiplier and then adding in an offset. What's the offset? The offset is the original sorting order for that sprite render. So in the case of this down body, it's going to be 13. And that makes my character then build himself up right layer by layer for the character, right? And because we're doing a multiplier value here of 100, he's only like 50 layers deep, so there's plenty of room for him to be built out and still be within that Y value, that integer Y value. And then all of the rest of it, dynamic or not, is really controlling how to look up the parent and when to do that calculation. So if it's static, it's going to do it on start, right? And only do it on start. There's a check inside update to check if it needs to. So I didn't want it running all the time for every single object, just on start. And then if it is dynamic, it will run every single update for the player because he's going to be moving through that Y space constantly. The other pieces here, the top parent, if it's null, it's just going to go back to the transform of itself. I did that because some of these objects, if I go over to the desert, that I'm painting in with this prefab brush, will have multiple sprite renders on them that are in different Y spaces, but I didn't want their calculation of the top half of this tree to be dependent on the top half. I wanted it to be dependent on the bottom half. So I can do this top parent option, basically override the Y value it's looking for by the transform of the parent object, which is going to be down at the bottom. Same thing for the main character, right? So that main character is made up of many game objects in a hierarchy, right? So that's what this piece of the code here is doing, is it's looking at the transforms parent and then looking at that top parent's parent and just going all the way up through it until there is no more parent. And then you know that you're at the root object in the hierarchy, which is this young hero character, so that his head and his feet both get the same sorting order. And then if we go, and we'll just hit play, we already got that little menu thing going. Go in, and I know the tree's gonna work, but these should work as well, which you can't walk into those at all. That's an interesting concept. I can't walk into them, but maybe my head can be through them. Yeah. So these ones here, these two trees are set up with this new system. Just these two right here. If I can get over to them. If I walk in between them, he goes between them. It's like a stupid, simple, obvious thing that this is how it should work now. But getting there was a journey. It's like, look what I can do. I can walk in front of or behind a tree. Big whoop. The other thing, I don't know if you've ever heard of Cinemachine, but Cinemachine is now controlling my camera. So you see, if I walk over in this area, the camera follows me when I hit this like invisible left edge, but when I go back to the right, he doesn't start following me right away. So if I pause this, go into the camera, and look at this. This shows the grid lines that I've got set up for my specific configuration. So the yellow transform location is where it's following. And then this bluish green area is like, oh, I'm sorry, the area that has no overlay is the dead zone. So as long as I'm moving within there, the camera's not going to follow that. Then as soon as I go out into this greenish blue area, it's going to try and catch up to me, but not be an instantaneous snap. Like there's a little bit of a delay. See how it kind of smoothly went over to me eventually? And then if I were to ever be able to, and my character's speed right now is not fast enough to do this, but if it was, if I go out into that red area, it's going to follow me right away. And then the other thing that this does is it allows you to set up an area on your game using a collider, and I just set the collider up as a trigger, right? So that the camera will stay within the bounds of that area. So I'm going to walk over here to the right all the way, so I can get off to the edge, and you'll see that the camera won't go beyond the game field. Right? I can't physically take the camera all the way over. Now, me as a character can go over there, but the camera's not going to pan outside of my game area. So it's up to me to set up another barrier there for the player, but that's different. So saying this all in a different way so that you can see how it looks like in... It's one of the packages in Unity. I'll show you in a sec. So this CM Confine object I've got set up, we zoom out, you'll see there's a faint green line border. That's just this polygon collider. There's something about the way that this Cinemachine works, is my understanding is it has to be a polygon collider, or there was another type. You can't use a regular box 2D collider. So I set it up as a 4-point polygon collider, and it's happy. And then this script that I wrote, I said set me as Cinemachine, right? It's just looking for the Cinemachine tag, which I have on my Cinemachine camera object. Finding that game object, finding the confiner on that game object, and setting the collider that I've got on this object, the polygon collider, to this. And this is because I'm reusing the same camera across multiple scenes. So the thought is I will set up another CM Confine object on the other scene, and it will automatically assign itself to Cinemachine's confine the camera to this area setting, basically. So let's go into here. So all I really had to do was go to the package manager. So Windows Package Manager. And assuming you're using a later version of Unity, which I'm on the latest right now. In Package Manager, there's the Cinemachine. You just come up here, hit install. It takes a minute or two. Then you get these new menu. And excellent. You just go Cinemachine, create 2D camera. And it doesn't create a new camera, it creates this object. And then you just configure this object, which sets up that dead zone, the dampening zone, all that stuff. So this body here, the dampening, the dead zone size. And then I went down and selected an extension of the Cinemachine confiner, this one here. And that added this object, which is the one I'm finding and setting that thing on. So it's a nice way to set up cameras to follow you without it being exactly locked into the character, and then also keeping the camera within the game zone, right? So that it doesn't go drifting off if the character were to ever be like right up to the edge of your play field. Like if you think about Super Mario, it's kind of like Super Mario, right? Where you get to the there's like dead zone, you just doesn't start going, but if you get to the end of a world or try and go back too far, the camera doesn't follow, it just stops. Okay. So let's run this one more time. I want to make sure that I can get in front of these fences at the top here. You know, visually draw in front of them with my head. I can. Need to somehow make it so that that goes on top. That means that needs to be that kind of object again. Maybe without the collider though. These are okay. Right? Are they? I don't know. It's starting to feel like I'm going to end up using the tile map system for backgrounds and maybe some like houses and things I can't walk into, and then using game objects for everything else. Just so that the game feels right. And interactive and stuff. And for some reason when I moved my tile map from where it was in negative white space to positive, this happened. I have to redo all those. Yay. So we needed a couple corners, didn't we? Okay, that one's there. It's a lot of fence objects. We needed a west, north, northwest. That was the base. We're gonna create a new variant. West. And I'm gonna lock, oh, that's already locked, good. So, project. It's this tile map, and that one specifically, and we want a north and a west. That should be that one. That's why I didn't create it. There's not a different appearance to it. And then that's a post, just a post. So let's grab that one we do need. Just leave it at north. Open prefab, drop that in, boom, save it. I want to go back out of view prefab. There we go. We need the just both of those. So we need south and it's right there. So I only need that one. Cool. So now this one, north, needs to be created as a prefab brush as well. And I did that by going create, let's see, grab the name of this first. Create brushes, prefab brush, give it the name, and then that is not the right location. You can get the right location. Palettes, there we go. Prefabs. Older names are too close. Prefab brush. And then it's just a matter of dragging that onto the word prefab, and it sets it up. So now, prefab north, select that, Get our brush tool. Boom. And then we need to do a different prefab, which is north. Just the east piece is all it is. Ha! Or west. That works. It's a lot of setup for doing it, but if I ever use that fence again, it's easy to do. Just don't know how much I'm going to use the fence to make it worthwhile. This might be the only area I use the fence in, I don't know. Should do the same for these. That or just give them a complete bounding box and you can never walk behind them. Which makes sense. Let's do that. They should be on collisions already, so that's fine. I need to create something over here to stop the player from going out of that area. Probably going to revisit trees anyway. Especially now that I've got the confinement system set up so the camera never goes off. You don't have to see, you know, this, and that was part of what the trees were about, was to keep the player back away from the edge a little bit. So there's some buffer in there. Let's go look at one of my houses. Where are you at in the world? You're a negative white space. Awesome. There's probably nothing here that would be set up in a way where you're gonna walk in front of it and behind it. I'll have to try it out sometime. In fact, why don't we just go ahead and do that, right? So we know desert is set up to be able to go into because it's got an entry point object on it. So let's copy that. Let's go back into the house. We're going to go into here, entry points. And we're going to say, where are you, entry point? This one we can just get rid of. Got one entry point. Oh, right. Okay. Scroll out till we see the map. There it is. Let's do it right. Default brush. We need to get all of this above that line there. So let's go ground first. Select everything. Move it. And is it above that line? It is. So let's go collision. That looks right. Oh, we want to go deco next, probably. Luckily, there's a nice little visual cue as to where to be there. And top deco. There we go. And now we can take that move her somewhat close. Let's put it there. And save the scene. We're going to go back to Overworld and get an exit point object. Copy that. House 1. Paste it in. Find desert one. Let's reset the transform on the parent object because I hate it when they're not right. Okay. Where's the actual... There we go. So there we go. If you go into that spot, then it's going to grab you and take you out of the world, or out of this world. Collisions are already set up correctly, right? So there's collider here, there's collider here. Nothing in the middle. So this exit point needs to go to scene 2 load will be Overworld. Scene 2 unload is going to be House 1. And entry point will be, I think it's Overworld spawn. Let's take a look. That is Overworld spawn. I can't remember things. But when it comes to so this is going to be the name of our entry to here. So I need to go into Overworld. And let's get zeroed in there, and we'll make another exit point, which is going to be a prefab, right? It's showing as a prefab. What's it called? TP to new scene. And let's just go ahead and reset your transform. Hometown is the spot. There we go. And the scene to load is going to be House 1. Scene to unload is Overworld. Save that. Let's check the collision layer then, because I might already have a collision on that. Looks like we do. There's a collider there. So we need to go to the palettes. Choose our exterior towns. Default brush. This is a section we need to get painted there, but we got to erase what's on collision first. And we're going to put this just on, let's say, decoration. And we should be able to walk in there. And decoration will be underneath the player, so that should be just fine. So it looks like you're walking on the floorboard there. Let's play. Can we go into the house? Start. We went in. Can't see anything. Why? Didn't actually load. House 1 cannot be floated. Oh. I bet I know what it is already. Build settings. Scenes. This is like one of the stupidest things in Unity that you have to drag every scene in there. I get it somewhat, but like it should just add all scenes in there and then you uncheck the ones you don't want. Because that's got to be a common error for people. trying to load a new scene and it just says it's not part of your build. That doesn't really tell me a whole lot what I need to do. Awesome! That is so cool. The walls fell off. Well, I gotta watch that again. They're a collider with a rigid body. And it's got gravity applied to it. I just forgot to turn it off. My collision later. Where is it? Is it gravity scale 0? Play that again. I don't feel so good, Mr. Stark. The walls are falling. There we go. Oh, they still moved. They delayed for... Oh, that's so cool. Play a mini game with the walls. Okay, that wasn't the fix I needed to do. I needed to make them static, didn't I? Collision. Rigid body. Static. That's what it needs to be. Makes for some cool unintended bugs. Static. There we go. There, no more pushing the entire house wall around. Maybe there, that would be better if like those were in front of his feet. I don't know. Can't walk into that. We can walk over top of it. Oh, I glitched! I glitched! We've made it into the Matrix, and now we're part of the collision. We're stuck in the walls. Wow. We made it out of the level, at least. That's not quite right. So I need to say... create another entry point. Yeah. In the overworld. So it needs to be basically right there, right? These are stupid simple. Oh, come on. Why you got that special icon there? I just need a simple empty. Give me a simple empty, please. Oh, it's a variant from the prefab. Okay. From House 1. And wait, can we do game object align with view? Game object move to view. There we go. That should be good. And then in House 1, on its exit points, we don't say overworld spawn, we say that. So it should come out in the same spot. It should go on. Go in. Go out. Where am I? What the heck? I'm not at 0. I'm confused by this one. Let's run through it again. So I go in. I'm not at 0. That's right there. Let's make sure I got the name right. Maybe I typed it wrong. I thought I copied and pasted it. Exit points to desert. What? Oh, just didn't rename it. From House 1. It's getting the teleport location holder on the game object over there, and teleport destination name is set up that point. Okay, that's all good. There should be a teleport location holder, which I don't have loaded. So it should have said matching entry point found, right? But all of these fences are spamming out their crap. Let's get rid of the fence spam. It's no longer needed. It was put in there for debugging. Let's try it one more time. Also, while I'm here, go to collisions. That little corner there did it. Great. How am I gonna fix that? Because that's being created by the composite collider, I think. Yeah. Got stuck in that corner, which shoved me into the wall. Yeah, that logger collider. I don't know. Great. Change the collider type on that sprite. That'll do it. Okay. So we've got rid of all the spam. Let's go ahead and play. If I make it a whole square instead of just the whole grid size. And let's go back out. We're over here. Matching entry point found. Oh, that's showing me there because it can't. The camera can't go over to me. Okay. Let's pause here and clear the console, and then go back out. Looking for entry point from house 1. Found that one, and that one. Got it. I don't have it tagged. Save. Did it. Okay, so let's go to that specific sprite then that we found the issue with. Interior towns. It would be this. And I think if I do this on it, yeah. So this gives me the tile. And I can say grid. Grid. Save. We can look at the collisions for it. Oh, we're in the overworld. House 1. Okay, we might have to tell it to recalculate the composite. It's still doing it. Still shows a sprite too. Got my project window locked. Good. I have to drop them back on the palette? Oh. Come on, get on this window there. Let's select those. Grid. Grid, cool. And now collisions. Undo the composite, redo the composite, and it's still doing it. Grid. Grid. Do we just need to repaint them on the collision area then? That's what it was. You had to repaint them because when I drug them over here, they were different tiles then apparently. Okay. So let's save that. See if we can glitch out into the wall again. Cool. No more glitchy wall. Let's take a walk up to the desert, make sure we didn't break anything there. I think we're good. Don't have a way back from the desert, but that's to come. Also, the desert needs filled out. You know, I need to set the camera up so that it's confined and all that stuff. Because right now you can walk out here forever. It's getting there though. I'll be honest, I'm not excited about making this maze through this desert. Having played it a little bit, I think I might need to go a slightly different direction, at least make it a little bigger. It's not pleasant to walk around all these objects. Get stuck on them too easy. It's doable, but not sure what it adds. At least with no enemies in here too, that's the other thing, right? So if there was enemies, then that would be a different scenario, right? Because that would give you something to try and do while you're here too. And that looks like it should go through. I can't though, because this collider is a square, and that one's a square, so they're meeting up, but it doesn't visually look like it. Maybe put circle collider on those? Yeah. Let's go over here to the walk on water, of course. Is that water animating? It is. Just super slow. I need to change the frame rate on that animation then. Okay, and then we can set up, you know, an exit point here that takes us into the dungeon. Okay, but for tonight, I think that's probably gonna be it. I didn't sleep last night. I woke up at like 2 a.m. and I've been up for the most part, besides like a half-hour nap in the middle of the day, all day. So I'm gonna try and get to bed a little earlier tonight and see if I can catch up on some sleep and have a sharper tomorrow because of it. So let's see who all is streaming out here. You guys streaming? If I type your name right, I would know better. Hello, Dane. Welcome to the stream as I'm about to end it. Stream about every day this time, or until this time. If you would like to see next time I stream, follow. If you want to start stream, I'll certainly send everybody over to you, which it might be us, but still. Hey, thank you for the follow. I don't have a thing come up on the screen. I'm assuming that was you, Daniel. Yeah, thank you, Daniel. I gotta fix that. I gotta put my overlay on this. But look, your name's there now. I could have just looked at that. Yeah, I thought the name looked familiar. Dan from All the Days. Okay. You guys are gonna hang out with me and then stream when I end. Maybe we can like shoot each other messages in Discord or whatever. I can let you know I'm getting close to being done for the night. Because like my end time is gonna be different all the time, right? It's just how I am. Like I try and start close to 8, but sometimes I start at 6:30, 7 o'clock, and then go till whenever. Till I get whatever task I'm working on done, or just get tired of being awake. Hey, welcome to the Discord, Volpin. Hope I said that name right. 11 p.m. Oh, well, for you, yeah. Talking my time zone. There's only one time zone. Okay. So you're not the Dan in the other Discord, or you got two different Discords? I'm in Below the Stones Discord too. I am the down. Okay. You're on? Okay. I just need Twitch to show me that you're on now. Stone Dev. My power. Seven lines today. Ouch. Make it 8. Prove him wrong, Daniel. Or Andrew. The stone dev. I heard my phone ding. Yeah, it's telling me on my phone. Come on, Twitch. Oh, the stone dev. Can I just do like /raid? We'll try it. Hey, I can. That's much faster. So I was using like the dashboard screen to do it. What? Raid is ready. Here we go. Bye, everybody.